Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Huppy, when Congress extended copyright procedures for sound recordings in 1971, it did so in part because of the increasing piracy of records and tapes, then relatively new technologies. According to a contemporary House report, piracy caused over $100 million in economic losses at the time. Similarly, when Congress extended digital performance rights in 1995, this committee presciently found that, quote, the digital transmission of sound recordings is likely to become a very important outlet for the performance of recorded music in the near future, close quote. It went on to say that without appropriate copyright protection in the digital environment, the creation of new sound recordings and musical works could be discouraged, ultimately denying the public some of the potential benefits of the new digital transmission technologies. We changed the law in 1971 because the evolution of technology had created a system that was unfair to artists and the listening public. We changed the law again in 1995 because once more new technologies were making it harder for artists to make a living. Do we have a similar argument today that the music ecosystem has changed?
Thank you, Congressman. We absolutely have a similar argument today. Streaming is a huge part of the U.S. recorded music revenue today. It's 85% of revenue into the entire industry comes through streaming. We live in a world where 40, 50 years ago, it was a sales-based model, and everything was done to purchase, to drive purchases of CDs and albums. Now, 85% of U.S. revenue comes from streaming. And that is exactly what we're here about today, because that is, the broadcasters are the one platform that doesn't pay for that delivery method that now serves a huge majority of the U.S. music industry.
Mr. Travis and Ms. Travis, as a country music star considered the voice of classic country, your performances are regularly played on AM/FM radio. Why is it important to your long-term care that you receive royalties not just from streaming services, but also from terrestrial radio?
The royalties, since his stroke, the royalties are what we have counted on for income, for survival, for his long-term care. It's also important to note that we are here not just for us. We're 65. We're kind of on the other side of it. But the younger artists that are coming along with families that are looking forward to a career in music, we want to do it for them. We want them to know that they have a career ahead of them, one that they can look forward to, one that they know they're not giving away their music or their identity or their copyrighted material for the radio. Randy loves radio. I want to get that straight. He loves radio and would never have been Randy Travis without the radio at that point in time. That was 40 years ago.
Again, Mr. and Mrs. Travis, while artificial intelligence is not the focus of this hearing, the use of generative AI in the music industry is of strong interest to this committee, both its potential as a tool for creators and the dangers it may pose when an artist's work or likeness is used without permission or compensation. How has artificial intelligence helped you continue to create?
It's a wonderful question, and it's one that we have it's a bridge we've just crossed. Randy has, he put out his first song since his stroke 11 years ago, called Where That Came From, and it was used using stems from 42 to 45 of his songs that were sent to a company that put his music on top of a vocal bed. So all of the vocal that you hear is Randy's, and it was pretty emotional, to be honest with you. When it came back, he spent months it took us 11 months to do it, and he spent months in the studio with his producer, career-long producer, with Warner Music, with musicians that had played on some of his earlier albums. And so the whole setting was very authentic, artistic, and humanistic. It had all of the heart in it. So it was wonderful to get to hear some more music out of Randy Travis.
Do you believe AI users should be allowed to create unauthorized copies of singer's voice?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Huppy, some argue that small broadcasters cannot afford to compensate musicians for the performance of their sound recordings. In your opinion, does the American Music Fairness Act adequately account for that concern?
The American Music Fairness Act absolutely accounts and looks out for small broadcasters. The sponsors of the bill, I think, have gotten the balance exactly right. We recognize the importance of allowing small business to thrive and grow so we have more competition and more variety in radio. As you know, Congressman Nadler, 1.5 stations that make $1.5 million or less will have to pay a mere $500 for all the music they want to use in a year. That's $1.37 a day, and I hasten to note it's the lowest fee to join the NAB, which they offer to non-commercial outfits. We're offering $1.5 million cap to commercial outlets, and it's less expensive than what it costs a student to go to the NAB radio show, $539.
So they can easily afford it by not joining the NAB.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. I yield back.